Welcome to the Compliance Trestle Issue Review. Today is November 11th. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and will be shared publicly on our YouTube channel to promote transparency and accountability. Your participation in these meetings is an agreement to abide by the OSCAL-Compass Code of Conduct, which can be found in the community repository. All right, I think we can get started. I had a few things that I put on the agenda for today, but we can switch it up if you guys want to. But I figured we just start with the new issues and then maybe move on to the milestone. I wasn't sure if there were any open PRs that you guys wanted to review.
Nope, sounds good to me.
All right. All right, let's take a look at the new stuff. I think these have been in the new status for a while. Lou and Alejandro, I'm not sure if we should move them to blocked because I don't know that we can do anything with them yet, but I just wanted to ask about specifically 1 and 2 really quick.
So 1 is in backlog. I mean, what else needs to be done for that? I mean, I think backlog is a good place for it. We shouldn't get rid of this, but I'm not going to fix this, or maybe somebody else wants to. But I'm not going to be looking at this anytime soon. But it should stay.
Okay.
So is something more than backlog needed, or?
I think it could be moved into the ready status if you think there's enough information here for someone to pick it up. Do you think that we should add like a help wanted label onto it and see if someone in the community would pick it up? Or do you think that it would be like someone would need to have Trestle institutional knowledge to complete this?
I can't answer that question so well. I don't think this is particularly difficult to solve. It's just that somebody has to put some thought into how it would be solved. That's all.
Okay. I think that's fine. I'm going to add a help wanted just to see if we can maybe get this picked up by someone in the community, and I'll just move it to the ready status, and then it can just stay in the backlog.
Sounds good.
All right. And then Pydantic, I believe we were going to try to do that at the next OSCAL upgrade. Is that right?
I think that this is non-trivial. Otherwise I would have done it. So I think things may break. I don't know. It's going to take a little bit of work to have this happen. I think the next upgrade is a good opportunity.
Yeah, marking it unblocked is not probably the status, because it's not that I'm blocked on working on this, that I just haven't had the chance to look at it. And I could give it a try for this milestone if you want, but I don't know how urgent is this. I don't really know. I think Lou has said that it might break, but we don't know that sorry with certainty, right? This is
what advantages do we get by moving to the V2 interface, right? Is it just that we have to move because V1 will get deprecated, or?
I think that that's the problem, is that we need to keep pace eventually if we're going to continue to use Pydantic. I think that, looking forward, it seems like a good idea to move this together with, upgrading the next version of OSCAL. But by the same token, when we did the last version upgrade of OSCAL, this proved to be too much to handle at the same time. So I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't think we can ignore this. I think that we're going to have to, keep pace eventually. So.
Will this be backward compatible or not?
No, I don't think it's backward compatible. No.
So users of Trestle would have to.
I don't know about users of Trestle. I just know that moving to the V2 interface is going to break things, and so.
No. So I'm more interested in about people who are using Trestle. If it is internally breaking things, we'll obviously fix as part of the upgrade, right? But if it is breaking things for existing code, then it's an issue, right? Then probably we should do it major version upgrade. Jen, you have a point?
I was going to suggest that since we have that open issue for the Trestle SDK where we plan to make breaking changes anyway, maybe it would be good to put that in the same milestone with this, just so we can kind of make that change at once.
Yeah, that's also.
It sounds good, but also ambitious, because when you pile on things that break things, it gets to be overwhelming. So, but sure, give it a shot.
But the Pydantic would be used both in the Trestle SDK and even in the CLI, right? Right, Lou?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yep.
So it's not just the SDK portion that will use this.
Right, but what I meant is like the breaking changes would only affect SDK users, right? This wouldn't result in a breaking change to
The
the
CLI
Trestle
user.
CLI end user.
They should be insulated, but there's no guarantee that can be maintained. But that seems like they should be insulated. Yes.
Yeah. So either we do it with the next major upgrade of Trestle when we move to next OSCAL version, or when we separate out the SDK. Either of these two would be a good point to introduce this.
In theory, I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I will move it to the ready status then, and then we could add that plan.
Sounds good.
Right. And the next one I think is from Chris. We could probably, unless anyone has specific opinions on this one, we could probably address this on the next meeting that Chris is on, but I wanted to take a pause here to see if anyone wanted to talk about it. All right, move on. Probably the same one, but since there's not too much information here, just going to pause again if anyone wants to talk about it, or we could just move on.
Yeah, I'm sure that Chris has these great ideas, and it'd just be nice if he would expand upon them as what the benefits are of these things, or what the problem he's trying to solve is. But I agree that having Chris around, or having him expand on these things, would be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it might, some of these issues might warrant a new label that maybe we could think about. Like if anyone submits an issue and all of the fields aren't filled out, it might be helpful to to be able to recognize that in labels or some other way. But okay, we can move on then.
Even a cursory review, we could add a label to it that says, more information wanted, or, please, some kind of indicator that it's lacking in detail that needs to be provided.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think we have quite a few of those in the backlog like that, and it would definitely be nice to know which ones those are.
Chris famously gets great ideas, writes down one sentence, and then moves on. So it'd be nice to, have a little bit more, so that if somebody actually wanted to implement it, they would know what to do. And having one sentence doesn't really cut it, usually.
Right, I think we can move on to this one. This one makes a little bit more sense to me because I have noticed the escaping of square brackets. I'm wondering, for anyone here who's maybe more familiar with the way this is implemented, would it be simple to do? Would it be impactful to complete this quickly, like in more near term? I just wanted to put that question out there.
I really don't know. I mean, I guess like you, I've seen the same thing when I've run the scripting to build, but I haven't really looked at it, so I don't know how hard it is to fix.
Yeah, me neither.
Gotcha. This one might need a little bit of investigation, but I do think it would like clean up the markdown a little bit, and I think that's useful. Here, I think we actually have a label for that, so I'll put the investigate label. I'll leave it in new. Once we finish the investigation, it could probably go in the ready status. Okay, this one has definitely more information. So I wanted to talk about this one a bit because I actually think it ties into that big epic we have on supporting non-control driven fields in SSPs, which the goal was to have a set of issues that we can start working on by, I think it's like mid next month. And I think this potentially could be one of those issues that we look at. So I kind of wanted to bring it to the group and see if we should move this under that epic and then use it to like push that epic forward.
So again, just to say something, I think again, Chris opened this. Chris has been the one who's interested in this, and so I think discussion with him about this is the way to go. So I don't deny that it seems like an interesting thing, but I don't think, I know for me, I haven't been in this area at all, so I can't.
I gotcha. Thanks, Lou. All right, I think we can probably move on then because we're going, I think I had Epic's review on here anyway. Let's move to the last one. And Lou, this one is yours.
Oh, yeah. So, so this just seemed like a very simple change, and the idea was to, at least in my mind, help satisfy the open SSF requirement. And so, just to be clear about code quality, what we do. So it seemed like a one-line change, easy to do. I did it, and that's that.
All right. And it looks like it actually already might have been merged. So I think
I did.
yeah. All right, cool.
I had two positive reviews, and so I just pushed it right in.
Cool. I think we can just mark this as done then.
Sounds
Or is there anything else that
Nope.
needs to be done?
Nothing else for this. No.
All right, perfect. All right. I think we're done with the new issues. We could probably flip over to open PRs. Is there, I'll probably just do like an open call. Is there anything on this list that anyone wants to go over, or would you rather go right into milestone planning?
Perhaps this is a bad on my part. I see that I have a PR, but I didn't open an issue for this. I guess I probably should have. Display open SSF best practices badge. I managed to this morning finish getting to 100% for the lowest level of acceptance for the badge. And so I just made a one-line change here to the README to display the badge on our webpage, on the README on the front page. And so as a part of this, again, already I have such a bad memory. I don't know if I put this in the PR or if I opened an issue, but I think what I've asked for is when you review this to please go to the OpenSSF site and look at the responses that I made, especially in two particular areas, security and analysis, to see if those can be improved. I think that they probably can be, because I'm not necessarily the most articulate in how the interaction and again, I read into things, they have requirements. I read into what the requirements are, and I read into what we have, and I try to make a match. And so they have security requirements, for using HTTPS and whether or not you have exposed tokens and what have you. So I did my best effort to answer these things, but it would be good if there was another set of eyes to make sure that I'm not lying and that we have properly represented what we have.
Yep, makes sense. And the link would actually be here, right? We're project 9408.
That's the place to go, yeah.
Okay.
And I thought that I added somewhere. I'll look and see it. I'm pretty sure I posted. Yeah, pull 1751. I posted, please follow the OpenSSF link and suggest any improvements. And I also posted the congratulations that they gave us. And they also kind of encourage us to review the text and improve our justifications. So, I think we're good to, my opinion is that we're good to go to display the badge. We're currently passing, but I would also ask you to take a quick look and make sure that I haven't lied before, approving the PR to display the badge. That's all.
All right, sounds good. Anyone have questions here?
I'll just make one more quick comment here. So we're at the lowest level. We're at passing. There are 2 more levels. There's silver and gold. So if anybody wants to jump in and try and do that, fine. Otherwise, sooner or later, I'll start looking at that as well. So.
All right. Thanks, Lou. I think we can move on. Any other PRs that anyone has a question on or wants to talk about? All right. I think we can move on to looking at the 360 milestone. We should probably, I think I originally set the date to early November, but we could probably move it to a month after when we released 350. Does anyone have any kind of opinions on that or looking for a different date?
Yeah, I don't see any problem with moving it. I don't know if anything is pressing to get out right away. So unless somebody else has a different opinion.
So what date are we planning to make the release?
So looking back, I actually realized we released 350 3 weeks ago, which would have to make which would mean this would have to be delivered a week from now, which I think would be pretty tough. So maybe since we're doing planning now, it might make more sense to make the date like mid-December.
But are these the only 4 issues that's going here, apart from any bug fixes that might appear?
So these are just the open issues for this milestone as opposed to the closed ones, or
Yeah, these are just the open ones and
ones
the
that
closed.
are yet to be done, right? So
Correct.
these are already done.
Do we? So if you're saying 15th November or 15th December?
I think that depends on if we want to add anything to this milestone. If we don't want to add anything, I think we could probably complete this very quickly, given that 1528 already has a PR open against it, which I'm realizing isn't mapped here, but I mean, do we think if we're just completing these 4 items, maybe end in November makes more sense?
Yeah, maybe 25th November, around that time frame, right? And are we planning a release in December or not then? That's also we have to keep in consideration, right? Because people will be on leave and so on. So then the next release would happen in January, right?
Yeah, I would aim that whatever we are thinking of releasing, it is happening before December because of what Vika said, right? Even if we are thinking of adding a couple of other bug fixes or maybe another set of features to add, it'll be reasonable to make the release maybe not next 15 November. If we want to add anything else, maybe we can make this release a little bit bigger and release it on the end of November rather than on December. It's not going to grab any attention, and yeah, people is probably going to be out.
All right, that makes sense. So maybe we should look to see if we want to expand this at all. Okay, let's look at the issues. And I've been trying to sort just by thumbs up maybe we could look at hearts too. I see some folks will heart the issues. For example, like with the Trestle rules extension, is there anything else that needs to be done? Are you hoping to get that completed before the end of the year? And should we add that?
So this one, if I remember correctly, had 2 parts, and part 1 has already been delivered and part 2 is not done yet. There's a possibility that part 2 could be done, in a few weeks' time. So I would put that as a possible, but I don't know that this is a showstopper for anybody at this time. I think that it's needed, but not needed soon by anybody. Is my understanding of this particular part 2 of this one. Is that right, Vikas? Is that your?
Yes.
Yes.
So basically, I would say if we have time, we can complete this as part of the things we decided to do, right? So if there is time, we can work on it and get this completed. But if there are other high priority items, then this can be delayed.
Yeah, this is what would I say? This is not not trivial, but it's not it's not particularly difficult. I don't think it kind of lies somewhere in the middle. So it's going to take some thought and effort to make this happen, but it's certainly doable. In a few weeks' time. So I would pencil it in as a possibility, but not a showstopper if it doesn't make it. Kind of a thing. A nice to have. I don't know if that answers your question, Jen.
I think it does. I was thinking like how in the milestone would I denote that something is a nice to have. It might just be like an understanding between all of us, and then if it doesn't get work done, it just gets bumped to the next milestone.
Yeah, you can put it in. If it doesn't make it, we'll just move it. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. Anything else on this list that we see as impactful to get done before the end of the year? Like, for example, the container builds. Is that something? I think I'm not really. I think that thumbs up actually might be for me, but I just wanted to take a look at the things that have reactions and see if it's something that we want to prioritize.
I get a question. I've seen that Chris has made various related with that issue, various website enhancements. I don't know how far we have gone related to that issue, because I've seen several PRs coming from Chris contributing to website enhancements. One I think it was merged last week, was related to minimize the HTML generated by MKDocs. I particularly reviewed that, and I think that's merged already. Yeah, minimize the render HTML. Yes. Oh, but I see there are a lot of other ones not being completed yet. Maybe I could and I could talk to Chris and grapple a couple of them myself to get that done if needed. I don't know how this. I don't know which priority this has, right? Because it's more like a enhancing the functioning of the website, but I wanted to see if that was going to be something to be completed soon. I don't really know. Maybe speaking with Chris will make my I'll be more conscious about this, but yeah, I wanted to see how far we've got with that. Doesn't seem to be too much.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pick one of these up, you could just go ahead and add it to the milestone if it's within the time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I think another, if I just look at parts instead of thumbs up, I think another epic that's worth looking at, but it's not as nearly fleshed out as the one we just looked at, is this one. It's got reactions and it seems to, it has a lot of comments from the community. So I was thinking that maybe in the next couple weeks, I could take some time to work out some more actionable items on here. So we could start getting this done as well. But this one is admittedly a huge undertaking. So I don't see us making significant progress between now and the end of the year.
Mhm. Is there any other one that has a heart reaction that we could? Yeah, I think this is a little bit bigger than to complete. What else? Maybe.
Let's try most commented.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I've seen that Chris has pointed out regarding that one, that Jen, that the
Mhm.
first clear change log. I think it is that's the one. I am pending to review a comment from him that well he threw on Friday. Yeah. Oh no, it is not related with that. Sorry, it is related with the cleanup and abstract GitHub pipelines.
Okay.
Yeah. He put that. Well, I put a comment like some time ago, and he put just on Friday that he was going to do a little work on this. But I don't know if that means that this is going to be closed into the next milestone. Probably not. We might have to coordinate with him. Because
Okay.
there were a couple of ideas there, right? And it is not necessarily defined already what is the word needed, I think. That could be another one to include as well, but we need to confirm with him.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I can tentatively put this one and then the other one we talked about in the milestone. And if I did that, maybe we can see or determine what date we would be comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yes.
All right. Go back to the milestone. All right. So, and just for some context, 716, a lot of the stuff to accomplish this is actually through repo settings. So I'm about like 75% finished with this. And then, as I said before, 1528 has a PR against it. So I think the rest, except for the OpenSSF best practices badge, have things to actually be done in code. So are we still thinking November 25th or maybe pushing it into December?
Maybe the earliest of December could be. I mean, let me check my calendar. Maybe the first week of December, on 2 or 3 of December, could be a good date, at least to give a little bit of more time to complete things, probably.
Yeah, that sounds good. And December 3rd is a community meeting day. So that would give us something to announce.
Maybe something prior, or maybe a release happening the Friday or so, right? Or the Monday before, so we can talk about the release and Or speak out.
All right. So I will say that the week of the 25th could be tough due to a US holiday. I'm not really sure how much that would impact the release timeline. So Alejandro, were we thinking like maybe December 2nd, the day before the community meeting on the first week of December?
Yeah, that might be that might be the day. Yeah, maybe doing it very early so we can have some time frame if anything happens. But I agree. Yeah, I see it possible.
Okay. Anybody opposed to December 2nd?
No, if we finish early, we can release before then, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
All right. Okay, I'll set the due date to December 2nd then. All right, we have 20 minutes left. I thought maybe we could go over the open epics that we have that we were trying to break down by December 12th, but if there's anything else that you guys would prefer to talk about in this time, feel free to bring it up. So I think I already talked about 16, 17. Still looking to get a little bit of feedback here from the group on the implementation, but we do have quite a few comments from the community. So like I said a little bit earlier, I'm planning to see if I can break this down into a few issues or proposed issues, and wondering, is there any questions anyone has on this particular epic before I do that, or any thoughts? All right, maybe we can move on to the next one. Go back. Here on the SDK, I know that Lou, you had commented on the initial layout that I had. To move this forward, what's the preference on this many changes? If would it be easier if I created a PR with this proposed layout, or how would you guys prefer to move this forward?
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one, and you know, with the structural change, we're going to be in the meantime still working on the live environment, and so it could lead to difficulties in working on separate branches to eventually get them to be merged together. I really don't know. I have an opinion on the best way to proceed.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe I should do like one package at a time, if that makes sense. Just kind of increment it along so that when somebody makes a change, it might lessen the chance that there's this immense merge conflict that everyone with an existing PR has to deal with. But that's just one idea.
Do you see this when you say incremental? Do you mean that you'll have an epic and you'll say, merge package 1, and then it'll go live, if you will, into the develop branch once we've accepted that as being correct, and then slowly just add more packages? Or are you gonna? I don't see how you can control the develop branch in a nice way, is what I'm trying to say.
I guess what I was thinking is, like, the first change I'll make is just simply creating the SDK package with one piece moved over, and then
delivering that to develop.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as we agree, we'll slowly, incrementally, like, maybe I'll just move this would be probably a pretty big change, but maybe I just move the OSCAL pieces over first, and that's it.
Okay, it sounds like a plan, and if it doesn't work, we'll come up with a different one.
All right.
I guess we just have to have buy-in that, this layout, it seems like the right one if we're going to start going ahead and implementing it, right? So I think people should take a look at it and see if they think it's the right way to go or not. But kind of like speak now or forever hold your peace kind of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. So maybe if everyone could take a look at this one, 713, give some feedback, maybe by next week, if that's possible. And then if, as Lou said, if I don't hear anything, I'll start creating subtasks or sub issues with the plans to individually move each piece and start executing on that.
Just, taking a step back and look at the bigger picture. So we're going to start thinking about having a Golang implementation as well, and we're going to want these things to be similarly arranged. Is that correct? And then are we going to try and do this in parallel, where we build out the SDK for Python and Go at the same time, or how is that going to work?
So I don't know that it would be similarly arranged package-wise, but I do think that we need to agree on some overlapping functionality between the two SDKs. And now that you mention it, I actually have, let me go here. I have a PR open on infrastructure workflows. That's just a work in progress, like essentially how do we test that each SDK that we support conforms to this specific spec that we've defined. So I think really what we're doing here on the Trestle SDK is just defining, like, what's the minimum set that we would expect from an SDK from OSCAL-Compass, and then we would need a way to test it. So the Go SDK could really implement this any which way as long as it has the required functionality. I do think, to answer your question, Lou, I do think we will be building them out somewhat simultaneously. I do think the Trestle SDK is, given that it has a lot of the functionality already, is quite a bit ahead of the Go SDK. So I think it would definitely be leading here as far as what functionality we decide should go in here.
Right. With respect to the OSCAL models in particular, you would think that they'd have to be pretty similar in the way that they looked, right? To present something to that they wouldn't be wildly different from each other. I don't think, right? And also, we're using this tooling to actually build out those Python versions of classes And how are we going to do that with Go? I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that the tool that we use understands Go. I never looked at it because it never was a concern before. But what kind and do we want to continue using that tool, or use something else to formulate the base models that come from NIST OSCAL? So.
Right. And there's other tools that exist that do support Go. There's another project under the Defense Unicorns organization that actually just has the Go types in for OSCAL automatically generated from the JSON schema, very similar to the way Trestle does. So I guess what I'm wondering, Lou, is when you say like vastly different, are we talking about the way the types look or the way the resulting OSCAL looks?
What I'm talking about, whatever we present to the end user. I mean, you want them. I mean, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but if we have an interface and it's called foo, I mean, we want foo on both the Go side and the Python side, or do we not care? One's going to be called foo, the other's bar, and if you're building applications, they're wildly different, if you will, depending on which SDK you use. That's kind of what I'm saying. Is I think you'd want them to be as similar as possible, wouldn't you?
I mean, I think you're right. I think that we would want them to be generally the same. For example, like if we have a profile resolver in the Trestle SDK and we want to support resolving profiles in both SDKs, the type in Go might also be named profile resolver. I think for there would probably just be best effort because it would be difficult to test and validate that. But in general, I do agree with you that they should look similar.
Okay.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, just kind of in relation to this, is I saw on the OSCAL CLI repo where they were going to do some sort of validation around externally defined constraints. And I think it would be pretty useful if Trestle or we as OSCAL-Compass, specifically for the Trestle opinionated version of OSCAL, of the OSCAL models with the properties we use, it might be useful to define that, if that makes sense. Like, what are the constraints that would go for in a rule ID property, for example, or a rule description property, because then the output of the OSCAL between the SDKs, we could keep that very similar and make sure they don't diverge. So I wanted to bring that up as well.
I'm sorry, you said their CLI does what about external things? I didn't quite follow that.
Yeah, no worries. Let me, with the time we have left, let me just quickly show what I mean. I think I'm on the wrong one. Let me. So I think it might have had to do with this PR, but essentially it was going to support externally defined constraints and not just the constraints that are defined by NIST in the OSCAL meta schema. And I thought it would be helpful if we also defined the constraints for Trestle. And I think FedRAMP was going to define theirs. I might just send this over the compliance Trestle maintainer Slack once I find what I'm looking for. But in general, I thought it would be helpful for us to define constraints on the Trestle opinionated properties. so we can make sure that they're consistent by any tool in OSCAL-Compass that's outputting OSCAL models.
That sounds great. I mean, that would, for us, it would keep our two different versions in sync, that they both agree, right? It'd be one sync point. I mean, the other thing is if their tool already accepts these externally defined specifications, it'd be nice to make sure that we can have one so that their tool would work against and can validate against our generated JSONs.
Right. I don't think it accepts it yet, but I do think there's an issue or a PR out there, and then I can send it along, and then we could maybe show some support for that idea, because I think that would be pretty helpful, especially if C2P eventually accepts OSCAL models that might be created by different tools within OSCAL-Compass. It would be really helpful in making sure that they remain compatible with C2P.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in some sense, we could publish what we expect, and people could check that they're publishing something that we like, if they cared. So.
All right. So we have 5 minutes left. I'll post this meeting. I'll look for the issue that I was talking about. Is there any other thoughts? Does anyone have questions on the SDK or anything else we've talked about? All right, I think we can wrap up early then. If everyone could please just take a look at issue 1713, and provide any feedback if you have it. I'd very much appreciate it.
And the OpenSSF PR, please. Thank you.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.